Hello from a very rainy Pontypridd. This is going to be my case study. We're going to go down and interview Ben Smith, who is the founder of Gingenious. I have previously worked alongside Ben, but he was one of the main reasons why I wanted to pick up a camera, get into production and so forth to VFX. Just waiting for a train. Should be in about 2 minutes. We're going to go straight down the bay. His office is located opposite Cardiff Bay train station in the I can't remember the name of the building exactly, but we will double check. So I'm just gonna, on the train, I'm gonna finalise my questions and get ready for it. So yeah, let's go. I'm Ben. I run Gingenious. We're a video production company in Cardiff with offices in Bristol and London. How would I describe myself to a stranger? God, that's really difficult. No.
They're easier for me, I promise.
Yeah. I'd probably describe myself as creative, ambitious and hardworking.
Perfect. That's always a good start.
Yeah.
So, Gingenious, when did it start and why did you start it?
I started Gingenious on the 1st of October 2007, so nearly 10 years old now. I started when I was 19, mainly because the story is I'd gone to a festival with a friend, ended up randomly making one video. I'd never done any video before. That festival was Glastonbury Festival, and they asked me to go back in 2008. So in the sort of interim, because I didn't have anything to do, because I didn't do very well in my A-levels, I was like, well, maybe I'm alright at this and I'll have a go. So then from there I just kind of started making films for everyone and anyone, and it kind of just grew from there. So
wicked. Almost 10 years, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. 10 years in
wicked.
October, it's nuts.
So Gingenious itself,
Yeah.
how many staff members do you currently have?
So we're currently employing 7 full-time staff, 1 guy in London. And that's been a sort of slow organic growth over the last 10 years, so it's taken us a long time to even get to that size. But there's quite a lot of benefit in that, because you sort of slowly grow your team and you pick carefully who would fit in with that, rather than just quick explosive growth and then it runs away with you. And that's always a danger with a small business.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't have to go through them one by one, but ranging from one to another, what are their roles? Like, what do they do?
So we've got project coordinator, head of production, project coordinator. Sorry, I'll start again. So we've got so the team is basically, so myself as creative director. So essentially, I look over all of the sort of creative aspects of the business. So looking at the treatments that we do and the proposals we write, and then the execution of the films that we create. Then we've got project coordinator as Fenna. So basically, Fenna makes the ideas happen. So like we take ideas. I'll pass on an idea, and then she'll sort out how that comes into sort of fruition, if you like, which is a massive part of the job when you think about like casting, everything from sorting out like locations and permissions and all that kind of stuff is a big part of the job. And then we've got Luke, who manages all of our post-production. So essentially we work slightly different to most production companies. So a lot of production companies run with like a producer who sees project from start to finish. Our model is slightly different in that what we do is we hand over after production. So once we've finished a shoot, it's handed over to Luke, who then manages the editors all the way through post. We kind of came across that like a couple of years ago. It just seemed like a smarter way to work with a smaller team. So clients had like a clear journey through like through the process. Then we've got John, who's like our like most senior like filmmaker. So he works with me essentially as like a DOP, but also as an editor. So like we both get involved with filming and editing a lot of the time. And then we've got Tom, who's like our like essentially like our trainee, but like he basically does a lot of the film projects for us and with us. So he's like learning rapidly, and Tom, in a similar way to me, came from this without like a university background, so we sort of like moulded him like in our kind of way of filming, to doing really well. And then we've got Jocelyn, who's head of production, who basically makes sure that our projects are kind of like, it essentially keeps clients in the know of what's happening when. Again, like another massive part of it, which is basically just making sure that you know you're doing the job, but the client doesn't, and often they're leaving you to just get on with it. So someone needs to coordinate that. And then we've got James then, who's in London, who's our business development manager, who's essentially contacting clients and bringing in new work as he can.
That's one of my future questions.
Yeah.
So at the start of a production, like what's the initial process? What's the first point of contact you normally receive?
So normally we'll either get an inquiry through email or someone will call and say that they've heard of us in some way. Like the nice thing for us is that a lot of people have seen our work, which is cool because it's kind of like a warm lead. It's not very often that people just ask us to like. We used to do a lot of tenders. We don't do those anymore because tendering takes a long time. You don't know if you're going to win it, and sometimes it can be made off the most random decisions. So we kind of tend to work with like leads that we feel like they're warmer. What normally happens is the client will get in touch. I'll go and meet the client for the initial meeting and try and find out a little bit more about them and what's going on and what they need or what they think they need, because often what they think they need is not what they need. And then I'll kind of bring that back, discuss it with the team. We'll all talk about different ideas. I'll normally come up with a series of treatments for that idea, and then we get about executing it really. So once you go through the process of, it can take quite a few weeks, perhaps even months before from that initial meeting to actually getting the job and actually having a signed contract which says you're going to do this for this. And then once we've got that, we're pretty self-sufficient in terms of just getting on with it and turning it around. Yeah.
Wicked. Tendering.
Yeah.
What's that? Is that?
So tendering is like basically a process whereby a company will, let's say they want to know if they're getting best value, so they'll go out to 3 or 4 companies with a tender doc and say, well, we think we want to work with you, but we might want to work with these guys and we might want to work with these guys, so why don't you all just give us your ideas and all give us your price.
So you're pitching,
right? Tendering slightly different in that it's a more formal process, in that normally it'll be associated with things like government. So like if it's a public body, if there's any public money being spent, normally they go to tender because they have to have like a clear paper trail of like why they've picked this company, and it's all like weighted. So like for example they'll say, the max score will be 55 and it's weighted on the basis of ideas and cost and blah 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 blah. It's very complicated though, and like I think public money can be a little bit dangerous for small businesses because it's great if you can get it, but then it can also go away very fast. So
yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
How do you usually schedule a production? So is there any formal way of doing it? Do you use timesheets or?
So we don't do anything like timesheets here because I kind of feel like they're in a small team, they're like counterintuitive. So like if you're asking people to fill in every 15 minutes what they're doing, I mean I don't know what I do most of the day, but I know I just get stuff done. So that would perhaps be slightly difficult in a business model where we had a lot more staff. You'd probably have to track a little bit more time. But for us, basically, we work in pre and post. So it's like pre-production is handed over to Fenna, who will basically sort out everything that we need for the production. She'll work with me in terms of like, if for example like yesterday I was doing a casting, so then I'll talk to her about like what I felt creatively about the casting and how it went, and then she'll coordinate with the agents and negotiate all the fees and all that sort of stuff. And then it's the same through post then, so like it's another managed process. So like what we've tried to do is, even though we want each idea to be unique and right for the client, we've tried to come up with business processes that make it that make each project kind of more streamlined. Okay. So we know, regardless of the idea, we've got processes that mean that idea will get executed on time, on budget. So yeah.
Wicked. That's good. You've touched on it. So contracts. Is that a regular thing that you do?
I'm probably the worst for contracts because I tend to feel that I know if someone's. I mean, we're lucky because a lot of the companies we work for are recognised organisations, so it'd be hard for them to rip us off. Mm-hmm. But yeah, with contracts, most of the time it depends. If the project is of a certain financial value, then we will contract it. But if it's under £10,000 normally, we just sort of go on the basis of we're cool.
Yeah.
We're good. We'll deliver it. We'll pay. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you've worked with bigger companies such as like Admiral, and Mitsubishi and stuff.
Yeah.
So with them, do they hand you or do they give you like NDAs or?
Yeah. So
have you experienced that before?
Like non-disclosure agreements are probably mostly to do with like government sectors. So like, or for example, if a client has got a product coming out that they, that it's important that information doesn't get released. Yeah, normally we do have to sign those, and I think that's just a sign of trust. Like, you should not have a problem signing an NDA because, like, it's not in your interest. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, cool. Now I'm not looking for any sort of figures or anything.
Yeah.
But what is usually the process in finding the right price for a client?
God, pricing structure. Yeah. So what we've done is we kind of a lot of our work is obviously bespoke. So an idea is a bespoke cost. So normally what we do is we have a set cost per like crew member, and then we add all those up and tally them up on a on their estimate. But what we did is we sort of had two forms of working. So the one is that like if a project looks like they just need us to turn up and shoot an event, then we've got a set pricing structure for that. And all we did basically to find that out was kind of initially like picked a number out of the air and was just like, okay, so like if we put, like, let's say for example we work with freelancers and they were charging $250 a day, well, we would say, okay, well for us where we've got all this kit and all this stuff, we should probably be $400 to $500 a day. And for small projects like that, it shouldn't need to change really because they're pretty simple. Like we could, a lot of, if we're just shooting an event for a client, it is pretty straightforward and there's no point in trying to make it very complicated. They just want a set price and just do the job. Whereas when we're looking at like more bespoke things, like if for example, like, I don't know, the client needs like a series of treatments or they need a script or they need us to come up with like a unique concept, that has to be, a lot of the times we basically ask the client what's your budget, because they do know. They might not want to tell you initially, but they will know. And also as well, like some of the ways I do it is I tend to say to people like, what do you not want to spend? So like if for example a client comes to me and says, we want to do a TV commercial, and I'm like, well, do you want to spend 100k, 50k, 20k? And they'll go, well, around so and so. So because you can come up with
straight away.
You could come up with $100,000 idea and they've got 15 grand. Like and you're wasting their time as well and your own. And I think once they know that like you're not trying to get the most money out of them, you're trying to execute the best idea for their budget. So they kind of respect that then. So yeah. That's
okay.
Cool.
Awesome. You touched on that. So equipment, for my personal interest, what's normally the equipment you take on a day out, and do you have any favourite pieces?
Yeah, so with gear, it's been really interesting over the last few years because we stopped buying it. So we've got like a couple of workhorse cameras like Sony FS700 and FS7 that we use pretty much all, for any job where I'm talking about like set price. But the thing is now, because rental companies, there's so much kit coming out all the time, kit's just rapidly changing. So we've shot on everything from like the Arri Mira and Arri Alexa to the Sony A7S, on big commercial shoots, because it just depends on, I just think it varies so much that whatever kit, I'm not really like passionate about gear. I just like the image, I'm like, I'll say to John, this is why we work really well together. I'll say, I kind of want it to look like that. And he'll say, okay, so for this, we probably need this.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like I said, the variation's so massive. So like what the Canon, the images that the Canon C-series produce versus the Sony stuff is like different. And there's so much more you can do with it in post or whatever. And again, compared to the Arri range. So like, that was the one thing we were like, maybe we just shouldn't buy any gear anymore, and we invested all our money into editing kit. So like our editing gear is top notch, and it just means that whatever we're shooting on, whatever we're hiring on, we can produce stuff quickly. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess your gear doesn't get outdated quickly.
Well, that's it. I mean, I remember the reason that we did that is because I bought the FS700 and a day later the FS7 came out and it like dropped in price by like 25%. And I was like, screw this, I'm never doing that again, because it was just like, and it's only going to get faster and equipment's only going to get smaller, and before you know it, the A7S can do everything, and then it'll just be about convincing clients. So that's a great camera, you know. It's,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, not a lot left now.
Cool.
The hand balancer. That jumps out to me on your website because it seems to me it's the only traditional project that you've done. Can you just give me a bit of a backstory on that?
Yeah, so like the hand balance is like a really good example of like doing a personal project and how much further that can take you. So John and I were talking. I think it's like 4 years old. I think we did it in like 2012. And we were just saying that like we really wanted to do something that we wanted to do. So we got in touch with No Fit State and just said, have you got anyone who's interested, you know, to try and do a story with. And then we met the guy, Jacko, who's become like a really good friend. And yeah, we just loved his philosophy, and he was just an interesting dude, and he had a lot to say and a lot to talk about. And so we just kind of decided to make this piece about, and what he does is unbelievable. So I wanted to make a piece that was more about like the philosophy behind it, because I think you see a lot of there's loads of portrait videos on Vimeo about like why someone does something, but like his was about like it was about something inside, not about like what he does and why he does it. It was about like he's talking about his inner truth, about like he's just a super artistic dude. And yeah, I just wanted to capture that. But that was interesting because like that is a project that a lot of people watch and a lot of people talk to me about, you know, even when we're going in meetings and stuff, you know, people reference that film. And I think what's nice about that is I made that film without any client influence. So that is exactly what I want to make films like. Like there's no other influence in there. There's no politics, there's no like money issues, it's just me.
Yeah.
And that's sort of something that I think I want to do a lot more of as well, because as a filmmaker you have to, or as any sort of maker, you have to be able to turn around and say like, that is me, that's, you know, there's no backstory there, that's just what I wanted to make. So it's been a good project for us, and it's only short, but I'm really proud of it. So
yeah, it's definitely my favourite thing.
Yeah, cool.
on it.
Yeah.
So the final touch is just marketing, really. Like, how do you promote Gingenious?
So marketing is really interesting because like for years we're just really lucky that because we've been going for 10 years, our SEO is like pretty good anyway, because like we're like a reliable site that's been up for 10 years, consistently posting about video production for nearly 10 years. And so we don't actually pay for any advertising. Like we don't pay for like, you know, if you type in video production in Cardiff, we're one of the top anyway without paying for anything ever, which is nuts. But the thing that really changed for me was last year when we decided to get a business development director, because like I was just tired of like, I'd get in so many quotes in a year. Like I think last year we quoted for like £1.5 million worth of work, you know, which is crazy. And we didn't chase any of that, like we didn't look for any of it, it just literally arrived. So when we changed to having a business development director, I think that's a massive difference. Is like, it's all very well and good doing your work, and it's all very well and good getting like a staff pick or doing something, you know, like that a lot of people like, but that doesn't mean to say that like the guy who's got the check, you know, is going to see it, or the girl who is going to commission you to make a series of films is going to see that film. So it's expensive, but like, and it takes a long time. Like it took us 3 months before we got a sniff at a job. And you know, we're paying the guy in London, you know, a fair whack to do it, but like the difference is that he's actively looking for people for us all the time. You know, like my job is to then, I'm just getting on with the work, you know, which is what I want to do. So marketing is really difficult because like I'm not the person to talk about like, oh, you know, I use Facebook, because I think for a business like us, Facebook doesn't really work. Like it's good for us to like post and like regularly show people who are interested in us that we're doing stuff, but we're not going to win work like that. The way we're going to win work is I'm going to go and meet people and physically be with them or talk to them on the phone, and that's how we win jobs, you know, because often when I get in a room with people, that more often than not we're the ones who come out with the job, because I think people still buy from people. They still physically want to know, oh, you're a nice guy, I'll work with you. So yeah, it's super important, that side, but I think the best thing that anyone can do is like physically get out and meet people, because I know we live in this digital age where like tap tap boom, you know, but it's like most business is done face to face, person to person. I know you, you know me, you trust me, okay, here's the job, you know. So I think too much emphasis can be put on like, social media and your online presence, when you know your physical presence is invaluable. So
wicked.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll wrap it up there.
Sweet.
That was my interview I carried out with Ben from Gingenious. Just to touch on, this is more my evaluation of my experience doing it. Again, the good thing was is that I knew Ben. We've had previous passings with him before. I mean, another Ben that I started being a charity with did actually work for Gingenious for a short while, but I never really got to spend time with him. But I was always familiar with, you know, exactly what Gingenious were doing. So yeah, it was very nice of him to spend some time, and you know, he was asking, you know, a lot about me and what I'm doing in uni and stuff, and you know, he said he wanted to keep updated on my work, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, it was very insightful, and it was a lot more knowledgeable than what I was expecting, because he's obviously a production company rather than a post-production company. Although they do have an area of post-production, they are a full from start to finish production company. And Ben does a lot of the filming, so that is what, you know, I was expecting for him to talk about. But it was really cool to get some information on the behind the scenes stuff, like, you know, the contracts. And you know, I was really happy when he said, you know, when I asked him about marketing, and I said, how do you usually get your work? And he went on to explain that, you know, he believes that just meeting the people, being face to face and just being a nice guy is half of the work, and I completely agree with that. That was really good to know. And there's also new information that I took away from it, like he mentioned in an answer to one of the questions about tendering, and I had never really come across that before. I imagined it was something along the lines of pitching, but I asked him to, you know, really explain in more detail what the process of tendering would be, and he said, of course, it's more of a formal term of pitching, where they include it's whether there's a government or a public body included. So that was really good to find out, and it's something that, you know, I didn't know previously, so there's a lot of things I took away from it. In terms of obtaining information from him and actually carrying out the interview, my anxiety did kick up a little bit, so I feel as if that there was a lot of things I could have done better, and it felt as if it was a bit rushed. I'm happy with the camera angle and the way that I captured Ben, but obviously I was right behind the camera and pretty much sitting on the floor, so he was looking down at me, which, looking back, you know, was a silly thing to do. But I had a chair with a laptop in front of me, so I just sat on the floor and I was going through my questions. But during the interview, you know, it felt like I was having a conversation with him. There's times where I even forgot to check the camera, because I know I like to check that it's in focus, or obviously there's a runtime limit on these, so it only record for a certain amount of time, and I wasn't sure whether it was 10, 15 or 20 minutes, although I think it is 30. But I completely forgot to check. You know, I was just talking to him, and only towards the end did I, you know, remember to check it just to make sure that it was still recording. Finishing the interview with Ben, I felt really good about it. Like, I felt as if, you know, I got everything that required. I didn't miss out on anything. I made sure with him as well that, you know, the questions weren't too intrusive. I understand now this video is probably again on the lines of 25 minutes. I'm going to keep the format as it is. I'm just going to run the interview completely as it was, not really put in any slides in between. I'm just going to let it run, because I think the viewer would naturally prefer it to flow that way rather than stopping and starting. And you can hear, of course, you know, the little things that I say to him, and the little pieces of conversation that we have. So yeah, I've edited it like a vlog, because I do vlog on YouTube, and I do make these short day in day out videos every day. So I kept it in that format, which is really fun. Colour graded it, and I think it looks really good. I don't know whether I should go into detail of how I edited it, but of course you'll be able to see, exactly what I've done. But the colour grade is lush. I'm getting more hands-on with this A7S and really figuring out what the best picture to get through it is. So yeah, it's good. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you soon.